first Bluebeard's castle game was a small-scale disaster. Unclear puzzles, terrible navigation, excessive loading screens, and a hint system that was almost completely broken. I didn't even put a review of it out because I'd been so annoyed by the experience that I didn't want to spend another second thinking about it. Naturally, my very next move was to play the game's sequel. Because of masochism, I suppose? I can say this for certain. Bluebeard's Castle, Son of the Heartless, is a huge improvement over the first game in the series. It's not perfect by any means, and it makes a few borderline inexcusable mistakes, but there's enough interesting material here to be worth making the review that you're currently watching. Now, the hidden object criteria. It's pretty much a disaster. The very first hidden object scene in the game revolves around a fallen tree, which is covered in jewelry and toys and pieces of paper. And it doesn't get any better from there. Despite the fact that the game is set in a castle that's experienced 25 years of dilapidation, the screens are just covered with ridiculous, surprisingly clean nonsense. There weren't any anachronistic items that I noticed, which is about the only positive thing I can say about the design of the hidden object scenes. Son of the Heartless focuses on 12:1 screens, which is, naturally, the bare minimum of justification possible. The art is attractive at least, with the clickable objects being perfectly integrated into the screens, and there isn't much cheating to speak of. Even the item names are free of the occasionally deceptive translations that plagued the first game. Son of the Heartless only has basic hidden object gameplay to offer, but at least it's competent, unlike its prequel. Son of the Heartless has some of the most frustrating puzzles I've encountered in ages. Not just because they're difficult, which a few are, skippably so, but because some of the puzzles aren't actually puzzles. There are two distinct kinds of ways to open up new areas in this type of adventure game. Puzzles, where the players have to follow a set of rules to figure out a solution to an obstacle. A single-player game, if you will. And then there are locks, where the player just has to enter in a combination. Son of the Heartless's problem is that it blurs the line between the two, on multiple occasions offering locks so ornate and complex that they look like puzzles, right down to offering a gradually filling skip bar. This creates an expectation in the player that there's something to figure out, when really they're just supposed to follow directions. This is made even worse by the failure of basic gamecraft. One of these puzzle-shaped locks doesn't tell the player that there's a piece of paper with a combination on it that they need to use before starting what looks like a puzzle. How hard would it be to lock the puzzle away until they've used the written down combination on it? The strangest thing about this game is also the most interesting, and the sole reason to recommend the title. During the player's journey to find 3 power items to break Bluebeard's curse, it suddenly occurs to me that I haven't mentioned the plot at all in this review, largely because it's a generic cliché. Anyhow, the point is, one of the 3 locations they'll go to looking for a power item is inside a storybook, which leads to the game adopting an entirely new papercraft-inspired art style that looks fantastic and plays beautifully. The sequence isn't any better designed than the rest of the game, but is so visually spectacular that I ended up loving that whole part of the game. There isn't one, so no. Bluebeard's Castle, Son of the Heartless, is terrible about communicating with the player. It's got an awful map system, faulty item hints in the exploration screen, and those puzzles that aren't actually puzzles. It's just not great. That papercraft area, though, that's something special. I can't express enough how well built that part of the game is, and I'd almost say that the whole thing is worth suffering through just to get a chance to play that part. Almost being the key word there. This review is based on a copy of the game purchased with my own money. If you'd like to watch the playthrough which led to this review, swing by the Hidden Object Guru YouTube channel. See you back here for the next review, but until then, au revoir.